Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite, episode 428. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra from beautiful Sauvage, Minnesota. A little bit sunburned after being out in the sun, hanging out with a friend of mine, having some lunch, but it was well worth it after so many cloudy days in Minnesota. Joined by Charlie Carden, man who returned from the great white north of Michigan.
I was okay. Rainy days and Sundays always get me down, or a weekend with my in-laws, you know. It's just one of those things.
No more to say.
No, that's all right. And it was just an overnight. But you know what? Our daughter was up there with her boyfriend, and we really like him. So we hung out, went on some hikes, and it just had a good time. It was good stuff. So it's all good. Yeah, so we're back. It is Memorial Day as we're recording this. And summer has begun. Summer movie challenges going on. You know, there's excitement in the air. Yeah, and it's hot, man. It's hot. It's, 87 degrees here in Michigan. It's going to be 90 all week into next week. So that's all right. Bust out the sleeves. So we're happy to be here. Love doing this. Also love bringing extra special awesome content to our Patreon supporters. We are very grateful for them. Gives me the chance to kind of expound about some stuff that I enjoy in old TV shows. Todd and I get to talk about comics over on the Spinner Rack. We're talking, of course, about Jamie Prinky over on our Best Buds level and our eternal BFFs, the Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry. My friend and yours, Missy Merchant, and her friend, Andy Milliken. And Todd, there is something new. This was that came to us that Patreon is offering. But, I don't want to hog all the glory. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's really nice because we want people to try out Patreon. We don't want to have to charge up front if it's not something for you. We don't want you to regret it. So the cool part is now, starting June 1st, you can check out our Patreon. You can basically get a week free for signing up. And if you don't like it within the first week, cancel by all means. But if you can continue to enjoy it after you've experienced that first week of free content, you can stay on as a member. And I believe, we're not 100% clear on all the details of which levels, but definitely most levels will be open for this free content. And obviously, most of the perks, though, we're going to hold back until you continue to be a ongoing member. But at a minimum, if you subscribe at the $5 level as I think it's Friends with Benefits,
yes,
you get all of our content, and you can check it all out, the old library of content, and anything new we have in the next couple of weeks or two. And I believe next episode, Charlie, will be The Facts of Geek Life next Friday.
That will be myself.
Or this Friday.
Yes, that will be myself and my good friend Ken McFarland talking about season 5 of The Simpsons, which we had a great time talking about that.
Yes. And then after that, our next episode that is not out yet of Spinner Rack will be Mark Waid's Irredeemable run.
Intense.
So please, read that on Comixology or whatever, and then you can read along and discuss with us. And as a Patreon, one of the cool parts is you can give us your any of your comments. You can pick future topics. You can be involved in the conversations about our Patreon content as well, which is a lot of fun.
For sure. Good deal. All right. That is, of course, over on patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. All right. Enough of that. Todd, you were telling me before we got the show rolling that this week's cover sent you on a spiral of what the hell is going on in the early 90s cosmic Marvel. So take it away.
Yes. So this week's We Got This Covered is November 1991's Quasar. This is issue number 28, The Cosmic Avenger. And if you're watching along on YouTube, you'll see the cover. It essentially says decisions, decisions, decisions is the byline at the bottom. And it's got all of these heroes on the cover. And it says, who will be her mate? Well, that's a dead giveaway, unfortunately, because her is actually the Marvel character named Her, who is a cosmic being.
What a mystery.
Yes, she's actually tied to Adam Warlock. So, Charlie, I dug into this because this issue is actually currently not available on Marvel Unlimited, which is funny.
That's weird.
You go to Marvel.com, there's no cover, not currently available.
Wow.
So I don't know how you will actually find this comic except in your quarter bins, because there's probably no collections of Quasar because he wasn't a very popular character. But Quasar was a cosmic hero with the Negabands. Was it the Negabands?
Yeah, I think the only issues, unless I'm very much mistaken, because I've read Recently, the Operation Galactic Storm, which is a big crossover, also happened in 1991. Issues of Quasar, because he was an Avenger at the time, are sprinkled throughout that. But obviously, they didn't say, hey, we're going to invest our time in dumping the whole catalog in there. But I mean, even back in the day, for kind of a B character to have 28 issues, especially in this day and age, that's a big deal. Because it's really hard for a startup hero or a revival hero or somebody who's getting out and they're putting them out on their own to do their to last that many issues. So there must have been something to it. Do you have the details on the creative team of this opus or not so much?
Yes, I do. So the creative team was gotta dig down. Mark Grunwald, the writer, penciler Greg Capullo. Greg Capullo, Greg Capullo got a second like career jump by partnering with Todd McFarlane, basically being the Spawn main artist for like over 125 issues. So he was he found a lot of success after Todd McFarlane wanted to draw Spawn. So he was, and then Greg Capullo was a huge X-Men artist following everyone leaving to go to Image. He was a mainstay on like X-Force and those books for a long time. So really talented guy. It's great art. This is all about her trying to find a mate. She was tied to Adam Warlock, some other characters. But I mean, you've got Hyperion, you've got Hercules, Cap, Thor, Namor, Wonder Man, Doc Samson. You said Gilgamesh, maybe?
Yeah, Captain Britain, Colossus, and then, of course, Quasar himself in the background. So
yeah, in the background, it's his book, but he's kind of in the background. And I'll just give you the synopsis. Her's quest for the ideal mate brings her into contact with Jack of Hearts, who's not even pictured, Colossus, Cyclops, Wolverine, Wonder Man, Hercules, Captain America, Hyperion, of course, Quasar, in Mating Dance. Knight's title.
That's like
part 1 of 2.
Oh, it was called Mating. Part 1 of 2. I don't want to see part 2. That would be the wedding night. Sounds like, what's that movie, Scott Pilgrim, where he's fighting all these superpowered
ex-boyfriends
for her hand. So it's just like, hey bro, it's not worth too many fish in the sea. It ain't worth it. My goodness. Oh, well, I'll tell you, Todd, going beyond this, can you imagine this cover if instead of her it was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb? Oh, they would be fighting to get away from her. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Webb. At 123 years young, we would be nowhere without her hot scoops down from the corner of Hollywood and Vine. Todd, we got a fresh crop of those. So let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. It's Memorial Day weekend. And sadly, at 123 years old, you have more people that are long gone, especially service members that you probably loved and supported. So I know at this weekend, it's very sad weekend for you, and you are remembering many military members that have given their all for this country. So, Madam Webb, we give our condolences to you.
We salute you, Madam Webb. Thank you for the service, especially the service you provide to us, bringing entertainment to the masses. It's all very valuable. So, hey, here is a video game that I can't play because I'm not going to go drop what was it, $500 for a PlayStation 5? And I'm not cheap, but I mean, like, for one game, I just don't know. But I can watch. I can watch the cutscenes, which is what I did with Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Yes. But so Charlie, there's a digital only PS5 which you can get for $400, but at this point, we're talking for you. It's limited returns because you'd basically be getting it for like one game. So that's not really a great value. Or Jedi Survivor.
So that's interesting to me. So and I had long wondered, and again, we don't need to go down too much into video game systems, but I got the feeling it would make sense that it would be moving to more of a digital only kind of thing. I would be totally down. I would be totally down with that. It's the difference between streaming stuff and buying discs, and I'm not going to go out and buy discs. It's a huge pain in the ass. Don't tell the people at GameStop that because I'm sure they're trying to get by on you buying and trading discs and all the different stuff. But yeah, I'd probably drop $400 on this thing. I don't know. Maybe come November, maybe that'll be my Black Friday gift to myself. We'll see.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of there's PlayStation Plus is a great service that allows you to get games digitally for free, and they have a huge library now. So it becomes like, and they add those titles to the library eventually. So it might be a scenario like when that pops up, you can like, hey, I get a year for like $45, and here you go.
I did it. I did it. I know I recently canceled it because it rolls around on Father's Day, and I have not used it in months. So yeah, but anyways,
not a problem.
Spider-Man 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2 drops in November, and we got we got
Well,
some
date is
yeah.
unconfirmed. It just says fall 2023.
No,
Yes.
it says November 2023 right here in this article, but obviously it's changed.
They lied. That was lied. That was a big frustration with them. Yes, because they're like,
gotcha.
where's the release date? Because
wait a
we want to
second.
play this game.
Because it says right here in this article that there's an Easter egg on a enemy vehicle that passes by with lettering numbering 201123. This easily translates to November 23.
Yes.
If you are British, it's 2011-23.
Yes.
So
So Game Rant is basically saying yes that they think they found the actual date buried among the trailers. Gotcha. So this is part of the PlayStation Showcase that just occurred. If you want to know more about this, actually, it's a Patreon exclusive until next Friday. I broke this down with a few guests, say Famous Seamus and Andrew Semachek. So if you want to listen there, it's there on Patreon now, exclusive, but soon to be released. Because Mark basically said, I don't want to talk about 80 minutes with PlayStation with you guys. I can only do it for a few minutes. So Mark was not able to be on that episode. Gotcha. But with this, Charlie, this is the basically third Spider-Man game with PlayStation. We had the first game, Spider-Man 1. We had Miles Morales, which was the second entry, which was in 2020, which came out on PS4 and PS5. So both the first two games are on PS4.
Now I have a question. I believe I own the first game on disc, which doesn't help me, but I think I bought the second one digitally. Will I have access to it since it's part of my account? If I buy
absolutely, it'll transfer forward. Yep.
Okay,
it'll transfer in.
And I bought a few digital games, so I've got a few kind of floating around there. Is there any way to rip those old games and get it? No, I guess if it doesn't have a disc, you really can't do that. Oh well. But
you can trade them into GameFly or give them to a friend.
Or trade them into GameStop. Yeah. Give them to a friend.
And you can also rent the games from GameFly, like I do. Yeah. And that's how you can play a game for like $15 a month. You can get a game.
Gotcha. Yeah. But like you said, I could trade them out or whatever. But anyway, but this, I watched this just because it popped up on YouTube or whatever, and I was like, it kicks off with you see a symbiote covered Spider-Man engaging with, as you revealed to me, kind of Kraven's troops in his Forest Hills Queens backyard, and the call comes over their radio like, oh, where is blah 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 in Brooklyn, and Peter's like, I can't get there in time, I got to call Miles because Miles lives in Brooklyn. And then you flash over to Miles and he jumps into this warehouse, and Peter shows up. There's some fighting. Peter shows up in time for the two of them to follow Kraven's crew out on jet skis into, on the Hudson River, Queens Bay. I don't know. I've been on a kick of, New York City geography lately, but I don't have this one down.
We think Peter lives in May's house now.
Right.
We think that's one of the things too. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So this looks fantastic. So we don't know when we're getting this game, but obviously this is hot stuff, and it would make perfect sense for a pre-Christmas release, Black Friday, bundle it with the game or whatever, bundle it with the system or whatever. So yeah, it'd be pretty sweet. I'm down. That's very exciting. I may find, I know April and I keep going back and forth, at least even with our PS4, because we have The Last of Us, like, oh, we should play this when the show's over. And we're like, still haven't gotten around to it, for one of us to play and the other one of us to watch.
Yeah.
Or take turns or whatever. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a commitment, though. Games take a lot longer than most other entertainment. I mean, alone, some games take 60 hours. That's a big commitment. So I wouldn't wish, unless you're really into it, just to get that, probably watching the trailers are perfectly fine with the cinematics. But Charlie, you might have missed the very beginning of the trailer, because it opens up on like Kraven. You think it's Kraven, and actually it's this dude that's a little bit more like cool and goth. He's got half his head shaved. He's got tattoos.
Right.
And you're thinking, oh God, is that how Kraven's going to look? Nope. It's like this pretender that Kraven is like looking for a worthy adversary or someone to take down, and he takes him out really quick. So basically and then one of his crew shows him like, here's New York. And by the way, there's all these weird creatures and things. He goes like, the hunt. So it's all about Kraven taking down, like wanting to come to New York to take down Black Cat and Spider-Man and all these crazy creatures that have been the first two games. So it looks really good. So that's one of the things. Tony Todd is going to be the voice of Venom in this, which is really cool. So that's what we haven't gotten, is like that dialogue of like Venom inside talking to like Peter or things like that.
He's gonna sound like Candyman. Listen.
Exactly. And then Venom's the Spider-Man symbiote powers look really cool. Like you can grab four guys with your tendrils. That looks really cool. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
Miles'
yeah.
powers look amazing, and I think, and just the one thing that's kind of a spoiler, so I don't want to get too aware, but the reason why Venom is part of this game is if you had played the last game, you find out that Norman Osborn is trying to save Harry's life. And you do see this symbiote-like creature being used to try to save Harry. So that's how they're bringing Venom into this universe, which is a little different than some of the other ways.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's not. It's not a critter from space, which he is in. Most iterations, including the comic source. So, well, cool.
Yep.
Well, I will be in. And if for some reason I don't end up playing this, I will definitely view this kind of cut screen deal because I'm definitely into that. So, all right. Well, moving on. Oh my God. We're really high on Jason Momoa these days because we really enjoyed Fasten Your Seatbelts. He was the best part of that movie. But
Absolutely.
Comedic actor Matt Berry, who is in your that What We Do in the Shadows, and was made to me most famous by the IT Crowd, the British short series back. God, was that 15 years ago? That was like a while back that was on.
Oh yeah, it feels like it feels very dated now when you watch it.
Yeah, exactly. But he is teaming up with Jason Momoa to do a Minecraft movie. Okay.
Yeah, that's just kind of crazy. Like Minecraft is like the biggest video game of all time now. Microsoft owns it, and it's huge. Every kid has played it. It's in everything. There's been many iterations. The fact that when someone said they're going to make a Minecraft movie, I'm like, I get why they do that, but can they pull it off, and why would they? But the Lego movie is kind of like the proof of concept to say we can take a game about just building blocks and make it fun and interactive.
And Lego's not even a game. It's not even a game. It's a product that they turn into a movie and a game about Legos and in a series about Legos. So
and Minecraft is all about doing your own thing, and people have modded it. My son was big into it, so every kid who's ever been of a certain age have probably played Minecraft. And Charlie, there was actually a Minecraft like narrative game, and Patton Oswalt was the narrative lead.
He's my guy. Love that man.
So they've tried like a narrative as well. And there's a series of books and all that stuff. So at this point, Jared Hess, who directed Napoleon Dynamite, is directing the Warner Brothers film. So Warner Brothers did the Lego movie. So they know how to kind of deal with this and let really creative people do it.
Right.
And the fact that Jason Momoa, who, he's pretty great. He's kind of like The Rock before The Rock got like too into himself.
Before he got too rocky.
Yeah, and so he's going to be in this, and then Matt Berry is fantastic, obviously comedic, deadpan. He's Jackie Daytona. That's all I have to say. He can make anything better. And this is apparently going to come out April 4th, 2025. With Mario having, I think it's going to be like $1.3 billion at the box office. There's got to be like people saying, well, how can we do this? So Minecraft just is, it's kind of, it's open for anyone to build something cool. And that's the best way to say it. So I hope this is good. And I hope assuming this is going to be for all ages.
Right. Yeah, I would think so. Even with Matt Berry being kind of an adult kind of character, comedic actor, but has a slate date in 2025. So, with what we're going to talk about the next, with the ongoing writer strike, makes you wonder if this is in the can or it's finished or they're going to produce it.
If they've cast it, it's got to have a script already. So it's got to be done, right?
One would imagine. So anyway, we will keep an eye on that. But one thing that is getting increasingly difficult to keep eyeballs on is the WGA strike. These poor people are out there fighting for their livelihood. And it's been going on for well over a month now with no progress that's at least been reported to us, but it's starting to hit all of us, kind of geeks where we live as far as content. So Marvel is announcing the pause of production on Wonder Man and the Thunderbolts indefinitely due to the strike. And I would like to imagine that indefinitely simply means until the strike is over and they'll pick it up again. But Todd, I'm sure that you will agree with me, and maybe you won't, that this news doesn't bother me. I want these people to get what they deserve. I would love new content. I'm interested in new content. We talk about new content here all the time. But it's not worth somebody losing their home losing their car, not being able to feed their
No.
family. I could care less. I could care less about the content than I care more about these people getting what they need. So I wish there was a way that me as a civilian could support them, because I would absolutely do it. I don't live in New York. I don't live in LA. But as I said before, I would be out there on the picket lines with all of my friends from the Star Trek crews, because I keep seeing pictures of all these great actors and writers that are out there.
Mark Ruffalo shows up. They've got people giving out pizzas. So,
Right.
and the actor strike is going to happen in June.
Right.
And if the writers and the actors go on, I'd be like, who's left?
There's nothing. Yeah, it's going to be
services.
It's going to be all reality TV, and people eating finger sandwiches. Exactly. So, I would have to admit, now we've talked about this quite extensively. The last big writer strike was in 2007. It took a whole month to get resolved. The last real big one before that was in 1998, which the same thing that chopped up for genre fans. Most notably, it sliced up the second season of Star Trek: Next Generation, cut 4 episodes, and gave us Trek's only clip show, which is very reviled by all.
Were they in an elevator and it broke down?
No, it was, and I'm sure you've never seen this, but they're down on a planet. Riker gets stung by a vine and goes into a coma, and Dr. Pulaski, who had replaced Dr. Crusher at the time, and Troy have to stimulate his memories to get him to fight off the infection, and it's all clips from the first 2 seasons. It's horrible.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Yeah.
Shades of Grey. Look it up and at me at Twitter. If you can tell me that you thought it was great, at me at Twitter. At least when The Simpsons did a clip show, it was satirical. There was nothing satirical about Shades of Grey. So anyway, this continues to go on, and we all know that these people are looking. They're looking for a fair wage in this world where the traditional model of residuals is ceasing to exist, because network TV is ceasing to exist in a lot of ways. And the most popular content is on all of your streamers, your Disney Plus, your Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, so on and so forth. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything about progress? Are they getting anywhere?
No.
Oh.
No, and I think the best thing to happen for this is the fact that the actor strike is going to go on. And so you've got 2 now huge bodies working together that are collaborative, because actors and I'm not sure about directors if they are going to be on strike anytime soon either. But those 2 groups, if they can stay strong together,
unified front,
and
right.
You know what? And people like us talking about this to people maybe out of the know, it helps to say, it puts pressure on those studios, because if you want us to continue to subscribe to all your stuff, see your crappy movies, you don't want us to feel like there's not going to be good stuff in the future, because we'll unsubscribe. Right. And that cuts off the head of the beast. And money hurts them more than anything else.
Yes.
So I hope this puts the pressure on them, because the fact that Wonder Man and Thunderbolts are 2 big things. Thunderbolts is going to be a movie. Wonder Man's going to be a TV series.
Yep.
But if you get less and less content coming to Disney Plus, it gives people more opportunity to say, you know what? I can cut off Disney Plus for a couple months, and then you don't have it for a while. You may not miss it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it becomes, and then you're right back watching. God, maybe you go back to cable. Oh my God. But again, you go back to watching reality TV shows, or you just, I don't know, maybe you pick up and read a book. I don't know. It sounds terrible. But yeah, the longer this drags out, and then, the movies.
Redbox exists, so go to Redbox.
Yeah, it might get back to it. So anyway, right now, other projects like Captain America: New World Order, Deadpool 3, and Agatha: Coven of Chaos are still in production, but if they're being filmed, like you said, if the writers strike, that's going to stop too. So the best thing.
And the worst thing too, Charlie, is if they need to make any changes to the script, something doesn't work.
Right.
They don't have the writers.
Yeah, they don't have a guy. They're not going to ask.
So
they're not going to ask Anthony Mackie to punch up one of his own scenes. You know what I mean?
No. So these shows could turn really bad, because if something doesn't work, are they going to halt production, or are they going to say keep going and make it up as you go along? It's an improv.
Oh,
whose line is it anyways? Drew Carey shows up, or
whose line is it anyway with Spider-Man and Captain America? I don't think so. So
I need a plot point, and I need an actor, and I need an MC power, and I need a conundrum.
Does it just turn into Mad Libs? Dr. Doom was blank, and then when he got to the top of blank, he said "Holy blank." There you go.
A noun, a verb, an adverb, another noun.
Oh my God, proper noun.
We should do that. We should bring back Mad Libs, Charlie. That should be our new game.
Mad Libs. Mad Libs.
Super Mad Libs. SFU Mad Libs.
All right. Let's get the rules together on that one. Okay. I'll let you take this next one, because I will admit I don't keep up on new stuff as much as I have, but this is about the Eisner Awards, the top comics in the last 12 months, I'm assuming, right?
It's the Oscars of comics. Yeah, this happens
Right.
once a year. They get nominated. It'll be announced at San Diego Comic-Con, the winners, so very soon, next 2 months. And this is great because a lot of these books, though, Charlie, we will probably get to read on Comixology Unlimited, which is good. And if they're on Marvel, they'll be on. But the other ones that are not, obviously, then if they pique our interest, might be a future thing that just becomes really the next big Walking Dead or Saga or something like that, which is what you want to hope that. Yeah,
I've actually read a couple of these. I did in the just looking at this very briefly. We have a couple of short stories. I did actually go out and buy Amazing Fantasy 1000, which was the big 60th anniversary Spider-Man celebration last year. Though by the title of it, I couldn't tell you the exact story, but a single issue one shot Star Trek 400, which was the 400th publication of a Star Trek comic by IDW. They've had a license since 2001 that I've read. So now that I know that they're award nominated, maybe I should go back and read them again. So
so I'll just go through these really quick. Yeah, The Beastkeeper Due by Scott Snyder from Tales from the Cloakroom was the best short story. Finding Batman and DC Pride 2022 by Kevin Conroy. I didn't know he wrote a book. That's kind of cool. Good Morning by Christopher Cantwell and Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood. And Selling All These Years by Margaret Atwood. You know, we talked about her from the Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
And David Mack for Tori Amos. So it's like a Tori Amos merge. That's kind of a cool one.
I remember that from the 90s. And then, as previously mentioned, a short story by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto from Amazing Fantasy 1000. In the single issue category, Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler. I feel like we've read one of the One Bad Days before. That's obviously for DC Comics. Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond by Jed Mackey and C.F. Villa. Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood, ouch, issue number 3 by Tom Brevoort for Marvel. Star Trek 400, edited by Heather Antos for IDW. Vicious Circle Book 1 by Mattson Tomlin and Lee Bajermo for Boom Studios, that's the book that Irredeemable we're reading. That's a Boom Studios book. So, all right,
absolutely. Yeah.
You can have the next one.
Yeah, best continuing series. So this is really a good way to check into a series that you're looking for a new series that's been good. So Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky. The Department of Truth at Image Comics by James Tynion. Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes at Image. The Nice House on the Lake by DC by James Tynion IV. Nightwing by Tom Taylor, which I've heard is an excellent book. It's kind of like a spy type of thing. Book that's great because Nightwing's a great character. And She-Hulk, which we read a little bit of, and it's good to hear that's continuing to be good at Marvel.
No doubt about it. Best limited series, Animal Castle by Xavier Dorson and Felix Delep from Ablaze Publications. Batman One Bad Day, again, edited by Dave Wilkowitz and Jessica Burby. The Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood for DC. Miracle Man by Gaiman and Lindsey Buckingham? From Fleetwood Mac?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. The Silver Age by Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham. That's over at Marvel. And Superman Space Age. Ooh. Mark Russell, Michael Allred, and Laura Allred over at DC.
Yeah, and as I think about this, Charlie, we may have to because a lot of these are at Marvel and DC, which is good because it's good to hear that they're making good content. So we could probably pick these off as we do Spinner X in the future as well. Yeah, best new series, The Atonement Bell by Jim Owsley at Red 5. It's it must be a new publisher. Love Everlasting by Tom King. Once again, you're hearing a lot of these similar names, these writers, Tom King, James Tynion. That's good to hear that they're great writers at Image. Public Domain, Chip Zdarsky, once again, doing Spider-Man at Image. Yep, Star Trek by Colin Kelly at IDW. So, and then Traveling to Mars at Ablaze Publications. So, and the rest is kind of like more kids stuff.
Yeah,
we can skip that. And then I maybe trying to think of anything else that would stick out to us. It really gets into best documentary and things like that. It's
definitely into the woods. Well, there's some archival stuff. I see. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror Omnibus Volume 1. That sounds like fun.
And then you get into best writers, artists, painters. So it's good to know that people that are actually doing good work are getting contributed to it. And I don't know if there's an overall best of the year, but no, that's about it. And then digital comics. It's nice to see that comics that are not available anywhere else are also being represented, especially in Comixology Originals. There's a bunch of those that are really, really cool as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's cool. I am, when it comes to Spinner Rack, which is our Patreon exclusive, I let Todd pick those because I think he's definitely got he's got his finger on the pulse. So we now have a little bit of a Bible for something. So Todd, I put it to you. Feel free to cut that up. I'll read whatever
Sure.
you send me, and I'm totally down. So speaking of, last thing to wrap up, in just 2 weeks' time, on Thursday, June 15, we're getting the second season of Strange New Worlds, which was fortunately in the can, so it is complete. But we got 2 new videos this week. We got a follow-up trailer to the primary, and then we got a clip from I believe the second episode of the season, featuring the trial of number 1, Una Chin Riley, who at the spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the series, sorry, but at the end of the first season, it was revealed that she is an alien race known as the Illyrians, who are a human offshoot that experiment on genetic modification, which is banned in the Federation, a la Khan Noonien Singh. So this is kind of the trial of her life. And it got all us cosplayers very excited because we get a new uniform. It's a new dress uniform. And I'm not going to talk about the costuming errors I saw because Todd was making fun of me, but that's okay. But Todd, the trailer, let's focus on the trailer. The trailer had a lot of quick cuts. We're seeing romance romance on the horizon. You're getting the return of Paul Wesley as a young Lieutenant Jim Kirk being teamed up with Lieutenant Laan Singh, Christina Chong, who's a regular in the series.
What's Kirk's actually like his role, because he's now part of the Enterprise or part of the crew.
No. At this time, sticking with canon, he is a lieutenant serving on the Starship Republic. So this is the year 2259 or 60. The first season of the original series was 2266. So it's about 6 years before TOS. So what's great about Starfleet, you can go from being a lieutenant to a captain in 6 years somehow. But anyway, so
somebody's got to die. There's got to be an appointment vacant, right? Somebody's got to die, Charlie. Right?
Look at the last episode of Picard. Everybody over the age of 25 got killed off by the Borg kids. So big promotions all over the place. But anyway, but the biggest part that got all of us extraordinarily excited is the live action debut of 2 characters from the much beloved Star Trek Lower Decks, much beloved by everybody but Todd. And eventually we're going to get Mark to watch because Mark said he would. But we get Jack Quaid as Ensign Bradward Boimler, and we get Tawny Newsome, who I met and spent time with on the Star Trek cruise. What a wonderful gal, as Ensign Beckett Mariner, somehow transported to the Enterprise, transitioning from their animated form to live action. It has sparked a massive debate in the cosplay community because you're seeing a cartoon outfit transition into real life, and people are like, "That's not the same. It looks like it has shoulder pads." It's just it's even too much. It's even too much for me.
Charlie, I'm gonna have to say this point.
I'm not gonna buy a new string because I have a Lower Decks uniform. So does April. I am not buying another one because there's a live action version now where the color's a little bit different and the stripe across the middle is lower and the badge looks. It's just no, forget it. I've got what I've got and I'm sticking with it. But anyway,
God,
I'm really fired
for
up.
For more of this type of content where it goes even deeper.
Yes.
Code 47.
Yeah,
exactly. Your one-stop shop for all things nerd.
Just this week, you had my new regular rotating co-host Jen Watson join me to talk about Voyager, and we did a best worst. And we'll be doing the same thing in the next episode, but we'll probably talk about this trailer again there, where we can dig even deeper. Jen is even more of a talker than I am when it comes to this stuff, so buckle up. It's going to be
good luck.
But Todd,
very, very good.
Yeah, are you excited about this? You really like this show, as I recall.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And it doesn't seem like they are going to pivot, and maybe they'll add some little nitpicks, little nits and bits here and there, but keeping it still to a more serialized
Monster
standalone episode.
Yep.
Which I appreciate. And then every character gets a moment. So it's not like we're not doing character development. They still are, but they're still saying we're going to have a lot of cool different destinations, stories, impacts. We're going to build that universe versus it just being one storyline where it feels like if you miss an episode, does it still work? And this, I feel like it's so it's so new viewer friendly that it's great. So I can continue to recommend it. And it does look like they're building on the relationships of the characters, which is cool because you've got Pike's paramour that we saw previously.
He had a girlfriend in the first episode, Captain Cabot, I think it was. And you see more Sparks and Spock and Chapel, which is interesting because when we see them in the in the original series, there were sparks, but there was no romance, and you ended up meeting T'Pring for the first time. And everybody who watches Strange New World can't stand T'Pring. She's awful, and she's even more awful in the original series. In the amok time, the Kirk dun 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 dun.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, June 15.
Kirk, do we see something with Kirk going on with Uhura? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, you did see a scene with that, though his focus episode will be, as I had mentioned, it looks like he and Christina Chong's character of La'an get stuck in the past, or on a very, very Earth-looking planet. They filmed it in downtown Toronto.
That's right. Yeah, very cool.
One thing canonically that if they stick to it, they cannot put Kirk and Pike together because they hadn't met yet. That was actually established in Pike's only appearance in the regular series when he was in the wheelchair, and Kirk says, well, I never met him until he was promoted to fleet captain.
I thought Kirk had met Pike, though.
Alternate reality, the final episode. So they never really met. You know how it is.
That's right.
So we'll see.
Charlie.
You know what? A little bit of bending of canon. I think the show's earned the right. They haven't done anything ridiculous.
Who's going to remember that except for people that are really old or who are, you.
Well, yeah, when everything.
and you know what? We're getting to be really old.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. But anyway, yes, as I said, June 15 on Paramount Plus. I have no doubt that if you don't have Paramount Plus, there will be a 30-day trial for you to sign up.
Trials.
Just kind of keep your eyes peeled. But anyway, with that, that's the end of the news. Todd, time to get out that Fuber app, the Feeble Uber app. The Geek Easy awaits. We've got to get down to the nastiest part of town. Talk about what we're enjoying. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are getting our nerd on. Entertain me, Charlie.
I will. I did. I've thrown myself, and it always helps when I go to my in-laws to catch up on my comic reading. But I was doing this beforehand because I was talking about it a couple of weeks ago. My point of pride, my claim to fame is that I've read every issue of The Amazing Spider-Man since 1962. And I had fallen about a year behind, and I was talking last week that I was catching up. And the current run that started about they publish bi-monthly, so they're getting out about 24 issues a year. Current run is by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. Was really enjoying it. They brought in an arc where they revisited the Hobgoblin, who is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Was really enjoying that, and then they got to. It's funny, Todd. I almost liken it to what we've been talking about, trying to make the comics more fit into the MCU. They took this run that I was enjoying, and they shoehorned in Dark Webb, which was a combination of Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen. It was like bringing back Inferno.
Oh, yeah.
But they took Ben Reilly, who in the previous long run of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Beyond, I've talked about it before, he was corporate Spider-Man and stuff, and then he was disgraced, and he took on the identity of Chasm, and then he sold a soul to the devil, and his girlfriend sold her soul to the devil, so she was a supervillain.
Wait, Charlie.
Yes.
I just had a hemorrhage.
Okay, exactly. I was reading this like, when the hell is this going to be over? So they took me.
It's like that Quasar book I just looked at. I'm like, what the heck?
I know. So this took me all the way up to issue 18, and now when I look at issue 19, which I was about to start, it's back to the regular storyline where Spider-Man, he and just on the cover, he and Mary Jane are not together. He's kind of dating the Black Cat, so it's like they're getting back into that. So I look forward to that, and then. Quick hits. Just looking through my Marvel Unlimited, I'm like, what was I reading in the past? I did not go back to the old Avengers because you and Kay shamed me out of reading that, but I did go back to Mark Waid's 1990s run, that started in 1998. So I picked
Marathon, or what was his name? Marathon or Quadrathon or Biathlon?
It's funny you should mention that because I jumped in on a 2-issue arc where they were fighting the Kree in space, and it was about how Carol Danvers was Warbird, but she had fallen off the wagon. She was an alcoholic, and they kicked her off the team. And then the next issue that you mentioned, it's Marathon Man is on the cover. So it's like issue
the original
8.
creation.
Yeah.
And he's never been seen since.
Yeah, just like 3D Man, who was one back in the 50s.
Horrible.
So I've enjoyed that. And then I want to do a full reread of the West Coast Avengers. I had started quite some time back. And I went through their first big arc was a time travel arc. I feel like I was talking about it at some point in the past because remember Two Gun Kid, He was in the Hawkeye went in the past, brought him into the future. They went back again.
That was our last cover, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was that, but it was the Phantom Rider had in the past had drugged Mockingbird and, you know, made her think that she was in love with him and not Hawkeye. It was like this. And then they intermixed this whole series with the Fantastic Four in the past with Ramu Tut. And then it was also Doctor Strange in Philadelphia in 1776. It was a big mess. Now, this was the Steve Englehart and Al Milgrom run. Todd, your favorite artist. I will admit, it was that part of it is pretty boilerplate. The part of it that I found kind of obnoxious is they pit Tony Stark as Iron Man in the Silver Centurion armor against Wonder Man when he was wearing his red and green suit, as bickering and fighting with each other, like being real, like they determine it's kind of like Dynasty, where it's Alexis and the other chick fighting with each other, pushing one in the
champagne
pond.
and faces and slaps.
It was obnoxious. I know the series gets better over time, and I'm kind of sticking with it when they get into. So this is issue 25. I got up to when they get into, I think the early 40s, John Byrne takes over. He does an arc. That's the one where the Vision, you know, is disassembled and put back together, and the Scarlet Witch freaks out, and you know you find out her two children are. So it's like we're coming up on that. So I'm hanging in there, but anyway, it's nice to get back into reading comics. I enjoy it. I've always loved Marvel Unlimited as a service. I've had it for about 10 years. You know, I have the and I think I'll cancel, but I had the Unlimited Plus or whatever, where you get the figure or something. And it's just, I don't ever buy anything. So it's really not worth it. So to get the basic service, it's like $70 a year. Well, let's face it, if you read a handful of comics, you're making money.
It's well worth it versus like $4 or $5 per issue now.
Yeah, it's totally nuts. So anyway, I highly recommend it. Just visit marvel.com and you'll find the links to it, but it's kind of the best thing out there. And then on the TV side, we're watching a couple of things. Succession just ended. Todd, I'm not going to talk about that because I know you're going to jump into it. I'd recommend doing it soon.
Yeah.
It's a tough watch. That all I'm going to say is it's a very tough watch. But another
tough in regards to like brutal, because I know it's a lot about Finally DMX. I like shared a video. It's like if Succession was about a man and his kids wanting his M&Ms because he bought M&Ms. It's absolutely hilarious. It's just like this 2-minute skit that they did. It's so hilarious.
There's very little that's hilarious about that show. But anyway, the thing I'm actually going to talk about is, Todd, you have kind of caused me to fall down a rabbit hole of Apple TV Plus because we finally got into Ted Lasso. I will admit that I kind of gave up on Schmigadoon season 2. Didn't grab me. I thought the shtick was gone for me. You know, and I've been in musicals and stuff, but I'm like, you know, it's too shticky. Sure. And then I mentioned we watched the show Physical, but it got really dark in the second season, so we're done with that. So we picked up on the morning show, which it's been 2 seasons, came on back in 2019, really concurrent with the Me Too movement. And it's basically Me Too, the TV show, because you have 2 morning anchors. One is Steve Carell, the other one is Jennifer Aniston, and Steve Carell's character is outed as a sexual harasser and
it's Matt Lauer. It's the Today Show, the movie.
It's interesting because it happened just at the same time as the Matt Lauer deal. So you're going through the pace of Billy Crudup is a character I've loved him since I saw him in Inventing the Abbotts back in 1997. He is a weirdo,
man. He is a weirdo.
And it's a weird character. And the other big character is Reese Witherspoon, who is a stalwart of our generation. Great show. Again, in a lot of ways, a really difficult watch. But it's fascinating, and it's we're coming up on the end of season 2, which is all they've got. Season 3 seems like it's been produced, but I haven't heard anything about it. And then season 4, it's been renewed for a 4th season. So anyway, I like it, Todd. I'll have to agree with you. Apple Plus has not a ton of content, but most of what they have. Like I said, I'm at a 3 out of 5 out of the shows I've watched.
Have you watched the show about the Ronald Moore's show about the American space race, but the Russians get there first?
No. What's the name of that
Charlie.
show?
I think For All Mankind, I think is what it's called. It's all about it's about the Americans try to catch up to the Russians.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think that's in your wheelhouse, man, because you like Ronald Moore.
Well, and I'm gonna meet him this summer. He's at Star Trek Las Vegas, and he is he's one of the few people. Like, I will pay for an autograph of him because I am such a fan.
I think that's on season 3 is complete, and I think the series might be over. But People have said that season 3,
I gotta watch
has one of the best one of the best standalone episodes of TV of all time. Like
Wow.
they say, this is a standalone great television. Just saying, like,
Wow.
that's cool because it doesn't deal with romance and things like it's like it's good storytelling plus romance, but
Right.
you know, it's not about like time traveling Scotsman.
Yeah, exactly. But but yeah, I've got 2 months until Star Trek Las Vegas. So if I'm going to meet him, I want to be able to say, hey, I've watched your show and it was fantastic. But anyway, that's it for me. Apple TV Plus, once again, give it a shot. Free trial is out there. All you got to do is look. What you got?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for myself, there's a series that just launched on Disney Plus. It's called American Born Chinese. This is based on an acclaim, one of the best comic books in the last 15 years from Ling Yang, who is from Minnesota. And he is a really acclaimed writer now. He's done many, many different things. And it was one of the New York Times bestsellers. But it is, and now it's a Disney Plus series. And it's eight episodes, and it's all dropped on once on Disney Plus. Michelle Yeoh's in this. Also, Ki Huang Kwan is in this as well.
So they're reunited.
Kind of in a way, yeah, which is, I mean, they were doing this before Everything Everywhere All at Once is. And it's a really cool story about not only about being an immigrant and your identity, but it's also utilizing the Chinese mythology of the Monkey King and that and blending those two together. So essentially you've got this kid named Jin who's struggling. His parents are both immigrants. He's trying to settle in. He doesn't want to, you know, he wants to just fit in and be a kid who's good at soccer and wants to go after the girl. And he's just trying to find his way. And it's, you know, it's high school drama in a lot of ways. But then you've got this kid who shows up who happens to be the Monkey King's father, who he's going off on a mission to fight off these bad guys. And he needs to find an emissary that'll help him find the fourth scroll. That's a mythological thing. So it's like he shows up as a teen, as kind of like an exchange student at the high school. So you get hijinks ensuing with that kind of thing. But it's well written. It's really well written. The special effects are good. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic. She's kind of like a goddess godmother who's helping him find his way, the one king. And then you've got Jin, who is just a kid who's dealing with like just fitting in and not trying to stand out too far. And it's really well done. I'm enjoying it. It's got a lot of heart. Yeah. And I'm not sure how, and Chris is watching it with me. She's read the book already. I'm going to read the book as well because it's very short. It's a trade paperback. So I'll see if it corresponds well. But there's eight episodes out. But we've been watching, watched 2 last night, watched the first one. So it's only 30 to 40 minutes per episode. So I'm curious to see where this goes. But so far, so good.
Who's got it? Where's it on at?
Disney Plus.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's right. I think I've seen the screen cap. Awesome. All right. I'm captivated to hear what you're going to say about this next one. This is a show that I was hot and heavy with, but it's been on for 10 years longer.
Season 9, Charlie, of Flash. So this was me just being curious because I couldn't remember where I dropped off the Flash. So the CW essentially is done. We've got Superman and Lois. That show is probably done, but apparently they haven't officially announced it yet. But that show is beloved by a lot of people.
We like it with April in particular.
It's got a lot of fans. It's really well done. Yeah, which is a shame that it's, you know, it was late to the party with the CW, not during the glory years of when everything was working in that show. Right. You know, there was no Disney Plus, so there really was no Marvel TV except for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this is kind of like the Flash is kind of like the darling, the crown and the jewel of the CW Arrowverse is finally ended. And it did get to tell 9 seasons, which you think about that. What show gets 9 seasons these days? I mean, that's nothing.
There hasn't been a Star Trek show that's had that many seasons. That's for sure. They stop at 7 max. Absolutely.
No. So it's amazing they got this far. And so my thought was just like, you know what? I'm going to just watch like a recap of what's going on in season 9. So I'd watch that first, like a YouTube, just to see what's going on. I'm not going to watch like 22 episodes of The Flash at this point, but I wanted to see what was going on. So when I could watch the final episode just to see how was the send off, did they treat things? Did they really get a real send off? Did it feel rushed? So I did watch it. It was kind of culminating all of the past Flash big bads showed up. They brought back a character named Eddie Thawne, who was in the first season, actually, who sacrificed himself. He was Iris's boyfriend. The love guy. They brought him back, Charlie, which is crazy. They brought him back, and it was about him once again, he felt he was brought back by the Speed Force, felt jilted that he lost a life with Iris and all this stuff. So it was all about that thing. So he then was resurrecting all these Flash bad guys like Reverse Flash, Zoom, Savitar, like all these things. I'm like, I totally missed on a bunch of these. So it was kind of fun. And now Team Flash is this huge group of all these people with powers that readily took care of all these villains, where before it took like Flash and a team of million just take down one. So the power levels have increased.
I guess.
And almost all the characters are still around except for Cisco. Cisco left the show. I loved Cisco a lot. I thought he was a great addition. He was a big
one of
geek.
the best characters. Yeah.
Yeah. So he left the series season 7 or 8, I believe. So he did not come back. So ultimately, he was the only character that didn't come back for this. And I think everyone got their nice send off where they're at in life. And I thought they did a good job of kind of tying things up with not feeling like they had to rush. So it was a satisfying ending for a series for a fan who's lagged on it. And I'm hoping other people that have kept with it felt like it was satisfying too. But it was kind of nice that they got it because the CW era is officially over.
It's done. They're just, it will cease to exist, or there's just not going to be a new program. Oh, wow. The end of an era died out like UPN. Yeah, because the CW was a merging of the UPN and the WB, was it not back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
UPN, which gave us Star Trek back in the day. So how interesting. Well, that's it for the Geek Easy, but it's time to engage in a very somber occasion. We are headed down under. Got to get out that Air Qantas app to get to the Thunderdome. Sadly, there's been a little paradigm shift down there. We'll talk to you about that in just a moment.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. In this week, we're talking about building a Mount Rushmore of classic villains. But before we start, we want to give a fond farewell, rest in power to Tina Turner, who is been a part of Secret Friends Unite in the Thunderdome since the very beginning. I'm not sure when we added the Thunderdome, but it wasn't short from the start when we started the show. It was our topic du jour. She was keeping the mutants in line for a long time. And if you are watching on YouTube, she is in my background. So Tina, she's a legend of music, screen,
life.
For rights as a performer,
Absolutely.
securing your legacy, securing your ability to perform as a performer from her ex-husband, surviving domestic abuse.
Yep.
I mean, she is a legend, and she performed, I think they had footage of her just at her own stage performance. She showed up to thank the cast of the crew of performance of her legacy just last year. So she was alive and kicking. So yeah, Tina, we salute you. And you know what? We'll continue to carry forth your voice in this segment for as long as we can.
You bet. We mad respect to Tina. So with that, what are we bringing the mutants this week? What do we got?
So, Charlie, it's the villains of Mount Rushmore. So basically, Mount Rushmore, you've seen it. It's an American icon. It's 4 faces of iconic presidents, not necessarily the best of, but the ones that have significant influence to American culture. I believe that it's Mount Rushmore is going on over 100 years of existence. I want to visit it. It's been made famous in North by Northwest with Jimmy. Was it Jimmy Stewart? No, it wasn't Jimmy Stewart.
It was Jimmy Stewart
in the movie. I thought it was Cary Grant.
Cary Grant, there you go.
Isn't Cary Grant in by North by West? But yeah, you've seen it. Yeah,
and isn't there a secret agent, in one of the nostrils of like Lincoln's nostril? I think it was something like.
I'm assuming there's many headquarters within that. The U.S.
and all the heads. And all the heads,
absolutely.
Headquarters. Yes, absolutely.
And Charlie and I were talking like, have we done this before? I'm like, we've done the Mount Rushmore of Geek. So it was like all things, which is very broad.
Right.
But, and then we've done the Supreme Court of like genre characters, which was a lot of fun because we were like, at the time, I think they were looking to bring in new nominations to the Supreme Court. So we're doing the villains of Mount Rushmore. So you think about this and it's like a little broad. So we wanted to get out of the wheelhouse of like making it just, all comic books or something like that. So I said, Charlie, let's get like 4 different categories, one representing each, and we're gonna have different ones. And we had one person from our Patreon group and also within our Discord who gave us gave us his selection as well. So we'll include that as well as we go through this. we've got movies or TV in a non-genre role. So you think of like you're more of like your
Right.
realistic things, no, fantastic elements, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. It's just your bad guy, whether it's like J.R. Ewing, maybe, hopefully I didn't screw you or Charlie with J.R. Ewing in like Dallas. He's a villain, maybe it's from
Oh,
90210, maybe it's the crazy woman with the scar on her head where they pulled off her wig on Melrose Place, Charlie. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's Heather.
It was Kimberly. It was Kimberly. That was her name on Melrose Place. I
Okay,
remember. Yeah.
sure.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have a non-genre, so someone a little more realistic. Then we've got movies or TV genre. So this is going to be like science fiction, fantasy, whatever, but with like live action TV or movie. Then comics. So I thought we'd hit that as well, and then cartoons because there's a lot of great villains in cartoons.
Mustache
So Charlie, I think the
villains.
best way we do this, we don't go each give our picks. We do one genre, and you give yours, I give mine. So we
Right.
stick with that. So, and I'll bring in our fan from our Discord group, which is Slosh Ritter,
Yes.
who gave us his as well. So we'll include his as we give ours.
Gotcha. Yes, and play along at the home game. Think of yours. If you got to pause and do some research, which is what I did, by all means do. But I'll get started. TV and movies, non-genre. My choice is, and we've already been talking about this program on the show tonight, Logan Roy, the star of Succession, played by Brian Cox.
Oh boy! Yeah.
Yeah, he is the uber father of the Roy family, made up of Kendall, Roman, Siobhan, and idiot brother Connor, who is played by Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, whose name I'm forgetting, also Captain of the Enterprise. He's not involved in the main thrust of the show, but it's basically making these three siblings fight over their media conglomerate empire and who's going to take over when Logan Roy becomes infirm with age, and he's a terrible human being, pitting his children against each other, and you never know from one moment to the next if they're going to stick together. And even in this final episode, you never knew from one moment to the next. His shadow loomed very large. So to see his face chiseled in marble, glowering down and casting his disapproval from beyond the grave, I think is an excellent choice. Logan Roy.
Yeah, I'm so jealous because Charlie, it's a show I want to watch so badly, and I just I'll get to that, and I keep saying I'll get to that, and it's it's so good, and I'm missing the buzz. But you know what?
But
I don't have a problem.
It's over. It's
checking
over.
to a show that's so good.
It's over now, so you can watch the whole thing. 4 seasons.
Yes.
4 seasons, I think.
And it's been funny hearing the buzz. And I'm assuming I'll appreciate it now. And, it's one of those shows where it's like, if it starts off, it's like the first season, I'm like, do I dip in? Because is it going to actually get a season 2, a season 3? So,
true.
Yeah.
No, it told a great unresolved story, which is exactly what you expected. All right. What does our home player have, Mr. Slosh Ritter?
This was a hard one. Oh, Schloss. Oh, great. I thought you were going to go to me. So he went with. This is hard because he didn't give us a non-genre, so we can skip that because he essentially said Joker in all carnations. So I guess if you went with Joker the movie, that didn't feel like a genre film. I guess you could go that way, right?
So he's got Joker for all 4. So he's got a Mount Rushmore with 4 different incarnations of Joker. So you got Mark Hamill Joker, Heath Ledger Joker, Jack Nicholson Joker, and then Joaquin Phoenix. So 4.
And even Cesar Romero, if you wanted to just do a 5th.
Want to do a 5th. So all right. So I guess that means
not the what's his name, the Jared Leto.
Oh God, yes. Let's take a big pass on that. All right. So I guess that means you're up non-genre TV movie.
This was a hard one, Charlie. Because I chose a TV series, and there's so many good people that could be up for a villain. And then I was at the last bit, and I'm like, you know what? Nope, it's going to be one person, and that's Breaking Bad's Walter White.
That came up on the list that I was looking at, but I haven't watched the show very much. I've seen it bits and pieces, so I didn't feel like I could really quantify. Yeah.
I mean, it's a show that's been around since 2008, so I can't really say this is, a new show. It's cutting edge, but I mean, and I think about it, it's the it diverted your thoughts on can the protagonist become the antagonist, and that's exactly what it was.
Right.
All of your sympathy for this character slowly diverted, and you started feeling like, am I still rooting for the good guy? Am I still? And
Or
after a while, you're like,
or you just
how
want to see
could
what
I
he
be?
does. Yeah, right.
Exactly. How could I be rooting for this bad guy that his initial reason why got lost in the shuffle? He became
Right.
like the megalomaniac who just said, like, it's not enough, or I have to go deep. And it's like he stopped.
It's like any supervillain in a lab experiment. Like, oh, it's like Norman Osborn struggling for perfection, and then he drinks the goblin serum, and now he's Willem Dafoe.
He's essentially Lex Luthor at this point. I mean, he could have been. I mean, Bryan Cranston could play Lex Luthor because that's exactly what he did. He basically said, I'm willing to sacrifice everything because I think I'm saving everything.
Right. And he loved power. That was the big thrust of it. He
absolutely. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. I build empires. That was one line I heard. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And then you think and then there's certain just everyone around him. The fact that they survive, like a lot of people survived this experience was amazing. So yeah, Walter White, you are a villain, my friend.
It is wild. Okay, well, my choice for TVs and movies in genre, I guess I extended a little bit. I considered action adventure genre, so it wasn't like sci-fi, comics, whatever it is. I extended it to something.
What's funny, I was talking to Chris about that. She goes, well, isn't action a genre? I'm like, kinda, but I mean, if there's no if there's no superpowers or fantasy or things like that, I kind of that's not really, I mean, because then it's like, well, is Commando is he a superhero?
I would go so far that the lengths that this main character is able to go to seems to infer that he has some kind of superpowers, because he, in fact, dies hard. I'm talking about Hans Gruber. That's right.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was a great villain through and through. He wasn't. He came on with the thought of, he's a political idealist and this and that, when in fact he orchestrated a very high tech for the time, well orchestrated raid to steal some German bearer bonds, and was thwarted by an off-duty cop in his bare feet running around a building who killed 12 terrorists. But he was, and at the very end of it, he was, his hostage was the wife. It was death by roll. I was going to say death by Rolex, death by Rolex, which was his wife's watch. Remember, he was, the famous saying, it's not the holiday season until I see Hans Gruber falling off the Nakatomi Plaza. But yeah, no, I thought he was a great villain, very single-minded, very cold-blooded. So yeah, he's my guy.
Yeah. I'll give you a pass on the genre, Charlie.
Yeah. It was a gray area, but anyway,
that's impressive for you, because I think of all of the MCU movies,
right, but again,
Star Wars and all those things. I think of
seems all super generic. I wanted
Indiana Jones.
You could have picked Belloc or Walter Donovan from The Last Grail,
the alien from Independence Day.
Yeah, just the one. Welcome to Earth, thump. But it sounds like you potentially went a little bit more traditional, so hit us with it.
I did. And once again, I picked my area, and then I'm like, okay, who is it though? Who's the worst? And it's like, there's so many bad people in here. I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, you know what? Last minute, Joffrey Baratheon.
Ooh,
oh my God.
So bad. No redeeming characteristics. Sadist, murderer.
Rapist.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, horrible.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that the only thing that made me almost pause is the fact that he was only around for a short period of time, because he met his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And but still, what he set forth, I mean, it destroyed legacies. It put brothers against brothers, kingdoms against kingdoms, delayed defense against the White Walkers. I mean, everything he did. Because my runner-up, Charlie, was going to be Ramsay Bolton, and Ramsay Bolton from the man who cut off the Twinkie
the wiener.
of yes, exactly, and how horrible he was, and the dogs and everything.
But I'm like, heinous crime. Yeah. Oh my God.
But I'm like thinking, everybody hated Joffrey, and everybody wanted to see him gone, and just all of the things that he stood for, and the fact that he was a part of that unholy union between Cersei and Jaime, and the fact that
Yuck.
So just with that, I'm like, God Almighty, what a good villain, and
Right.
from a new genre, a new show. I mean, from the last, his first appearance was 2011. So we're talking only 12 years ago. That he appeared and got in everybody's every week. It's like, what's going to happen? Is he going to die? Is he going to do something horrible?
Right.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're moving out of live action. We're getting
So wait, Did we? I don't want to go back to Miss Schloss.
Well, I thought he just had the one.
No, he said. But he gave us a few others. So I'll give him his second.
All right,
his second, and he's giving Freddy Krueger.
That showed up on one of my lists as well. I thought, Freddy Krueger is pretty dyed in the wool, without a doubt. All right.
He also could Palpatine, but could you put Palpatine as a comic book character since he's also in comics?
You can, but that's not how I would think about him.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you wouldn't, but that's okay.
So that's the two he gave us. So basically, Freddy Krueger, Palpatine. So there you go.
To end it out. Okay, gotcha. All right. So
he has one more for the cartoons.
Oh, gotcha. So, the Palpatine is in cartoons as well. Yeah. So he's very multifaceted. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Comics. I tried to think of something awful, and I was thinking about Spider-Man because I kind of got Spider-Man on the brain, and looking at my villain shelf right now, I see a lot of different Spider-Man villains, but I thought, a lot of his villains are like, Electro, I defeated him with a puddle, or, Sandman, I defeated him with a puddle, or Hydro Man, I defeated him with sand, it's like these easy fixes. But for me, the most maniacal, the most dangerous comic book version in particular of a Spider-Man villain is Carnage. Serial killer Cletus Cassidy joined the pantheon of Spider-Man's villains in 1993 with Maximum Carnage. The Carnage symbiote is a offspring of the Venom symbiote, and the way that symbiote races, and they're called they're called the Karn or something like that. They're an alien race. They reproduce asexually, and the parent and the child are not have no blood relation. They just spit it out and you have an offspring. So there was no budding.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's not like there was any Carnage, you're my son from Venom. Like, they didn't embrace that. But that whole Maximum Carnage, which was a maxi series or a big crossover that went from Amazing Spider-Man and across the other two Spider-Man titles of that time, The Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man, and also branched out to pull in other characters like Captain America was in it, and some other villains and heroes. Some of it was kind of hokey. David Michelini, who I think was the writer at the time, some of the dialogue was a bit hokum, because Spider-Man also had, and it's funny, I also have a figure of the doppelganger demon Spider-Man, which came from Inferno. It was a leftover. And then I think a Shriek or Shrike was his girlfriend or something. And they were just going through the streets of Manhattan, just slaughtering, killing, wholesale, blood. As much violence as, you could really feature in a comic at that time, in a mainstream comic. But yeah, has continued to simply be a very irredeemable character, portrayed not excitingly by Woody Harrelson in one of the terrible Venom movies. That was
Cletus, the slack-jaw yokel, Charlie,
exactly.
of comics.
Well, and he really was, because he was kind of a red-haired, wiry ding-dong. But yeah,
inbred a little bit.
Very, very evil character. I cannot think of a comic book villain that is more villainous than Carnage.
Yeah, he's essentially the Joker, except without the intelligence, right, of the Joker, and the ingenuity. But he's depraved, and he's a serial killer. Yeah.
Exactly correct. You got it. All right, what about you?
So I went with Lex Luthor, and it really peels back the fact that this is someone who has the intellect to do so much good.
Yeah,
and the fact is, he just chooses not, because his ego gets in the way, because there's someone that will always be better than him, and that is Superman.
Right.
And because of that, rather than put all of his resources, his ingenuity to cure cancer things, he's he would rather just take down Superman no matter what, because he feels like, even if Superman truly is a threat, I think most people don't think he is, but he's so focused on, I don't know if it's attention, standing in the shadow of someone that is an alien, where he feels like, well, he's got the benefit of having those inherited powers versus myself, where he feels like almost inferiority complex, where he even becoming president, where he could do things, essentially just became president so he ultimately could outlaw Superman. I mean, talk about that. I mean,
it's Trump. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm not sure who Superman is. Obama? I don't know in his lens.
I mean, that's
how he felt.
That's the famous take on it, is that's why Trump through the presidency is because Obama pretty much told him he couldn't, or whatever it is, whatever that slice is. But anyway, that's a great one. Plus he oh God, I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, that's I mean, that's a stellar
and he keeps coming back. He never gets put in the slammer for long. And, they elected him damn president, even despite all the bad stuff he did.
just like Trump. But it reminds me of the famous line from Skeletor, which would be another great cartoon one, but it's not what I picked. Is that, I don't like good. I like to do evil. Where he could do good, but he's obsessed with He-Man.
Oh, Charlie, we could have picked Dr. Evil as our villain. We didn't.
I just watched that movie because it came across my radar a week or so ago, and it's asinine, but still, again,
absolutely, it's like Airplane. It's like one of those movies. Yeah,
for our generation, it will always be. You can't beat the classics. So anyway, okay, what did Mr. Sloshritter have for his last one, or did we get all the way?
So the last one is cartoon. So he picked Megatron, which, you know what, Megatron is a good pick because he's kind of a madman, does everything for power. He's kind of one note. Over the years, they have tried to build up his character like he's actually trying to be, he's like the Malcolm X of the Transformers. Like, yeah, he's like all violence and crime is like,
God, no, I'm sorry, that's Dr. Martin Luther King, sorry.
So in a lot of ways, yes. So I get it. He's kind of, he's been made more, his layers of depth have been added over the year, but in the original cartoon, he is just like the bad guy. He's got a great voice. He turns into a gun. I mean, what else could you ask for?
Right. I can't disagree with you. Okay. Moving on to cartoons. So let's finish it out. I'm going to go with, and instead of picking something easy like, Magneto from the X-Men, or, Gargamel from the Smurfs, I decided to go with, as a deep cut, G.I. Joe the movie, 1987, Golobulus, the leader of Cobra La, voiced by Burgess Meredith. I know, I was inspired. Because I was looking through a list, and I'm thinking, maybe I saw Cobra Commander, and I'm like, all right, who's behind Cobra Commander? In the comics, Cobra La is this it's this underground kingdom under a polar ice cap. They've been on Earth since they've been under an ice cap since the Ice Age, but it was a whole society that developed.
So wait, this was a thing before the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen the movie, haven't you?
Oh, I have. Well, I have seen the movie. I'm like, I just thought the writers made it out, before. I didn't know like Larry Hama actually.
Did Larry Hama come up with this? No. Okay. No, you're saying it doesn't have to do with the comic. This is the cartoon I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, had this ever been discussed? Did Larry Hama say, "Yep, Cobra La's a thing. Here it is"?
Absolutely not. I don't even know if he wrote the file cards. But Golobulus was half man, the top half
spore pod.
The half was it was the snake's tail. He had like a weird he looked like something on Mad Max. He had a big old cover piece over one eye and a lizard eye or whatever, and that's how he was ultimately defeated. As Lieutenant Falcon, who was voiced by Don Johnson, eventually defeated him by stabbing him through the eye, a la Die Hard 2. But anyway, he ran the society, and he decided that one of his scientists, who ultimately became Cobra Commander, was to go out in the world and raise an army. But Cobra Commander was deemed as a failure when they caught up with them again, and he was banished. He was poisoned and exiled. And then Golobulus launched his master plan with the broadcast energy transmitter, the BET, that could grow his space spores in space, and they would pop and transform the Earth's population into basically Cobra La lizard people. So plan for world domination far beyond anything that Cobra was ever able to pull off. But the new crop of Joes, also led by Sergeant Slaughter and Don Johnson, managed to go in there and defeat him. So anyway, big villain, ridiculous, very cartoon, but had a legit plan to overthrow the world by transforming the population into lizard folk, which isn't that. That's how it's going to end for all of us anyway, I think. The robot lizards roaming the landscape will be because of Cobra Law. There, I said it.
Okay. Whew, Charlie, I got a tough call here. This one was hard. Cartoons are great. And then you think about they can just be over the top because it's a cartoon. So I was thinking about this, but I'm just, you know what? I'm going to go deep into one of our shared favorites. The Simpsons.
Deeper than Galabius. Oh, okay.
And that is The Simpsons. So I picked two, and I'm I had to whittle them down. Sideshow Bob versus Mr. Burns. And I thought about that. I'm you know what? I'm going Sideshow Bob. Because Sideshow Bob, his whole identity is a villain. Mr. Burns has had different things, but it's that's his whole existence, to get revenge on Bart. We've seen that through the years. And it's so wonderful. And he's so classy, and he just has all of these features of a classic villain that we love. And he's so sophisticated. Always, just so many classic bits. With Mr. Burns, I feel you can't take him serious. But Sideshow Bob, he wants to kill Bart. It's he hasn't even veiled his thoughts of what he wants to do. So I'm going Sideshow Bob. And maybe that's a little light, but there's so many others that are great. But I think about what he's his impact on The Simpsons, and the Cape Fear episode was so iconic. So good.
With the full score of the HMS Pinafore, never ever sick at sea.
Yeah. And if it wasn't that, it was going to be Skeletor, because you know what? A skull-headed man who, calls people boobs. That's pretty much your iconic villain.
He's launched 1,000 of the most disgusting memes you will ever see if you follow the Facebook page. Evil Skeletor. Kids. Don't do it.
Unemployed Skeletor is great too, though. If you see him, he's amazing.
Oh my God! Well, this was a good segment. Like I said, I swear up and down that we did this before, but clearly we had not. But it's a good variation, picking out kind of the best of the best. In which case, this was the best of the worst. But friends, as always, thank you for joining us. And again, thank you to our great Patreons. We love you guys, giving us the will to carry on, do some new content. And do remember that as of the beginning of June, you are going to be able to trial our material for 1 week for free. We would love to have you tune in. Check us out. And if it's something that you like, stick around. There are different levels by which that you can sign up, but visit patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Get all those details. And if you have additional questions, you can hit us up by doing what, Todd? Where do people find you out there?
At Teoxtra, that's the quickest way. It's just my, personal interest in the world of video games, comic books, etc., the NFL and sports. But at Secret Friends U, you can DM me at Teoxtra, or DM us at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Even if you want to email us, secretfriendsunite.com or at gmail.com. You can do that if you want.
That's a little retro, but it's still a great way to reach us because we all read it.
Exactly.
So, absolutely correct. Yeah. Well, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. My lovely wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the largest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. We're based here in West Michigan, and I run Region 13, which is Michigan and Western Canada. If you're a Trekker out there listening to the sound of my voice, want to learn a little bit more about meeting other Trekkers in your neighborhood, hot singles in your area, not the same thing, Trekkers in your neighborhood, go ahead and drop me a line at any of the social handles that correspond, or at our website of the same name. We would love to hear from you. All right. And with that, one more time, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Rakes, my arch enemy.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.